Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you so much for joining. Well, this one is all about a glitch in the matrix. My friend Diane H. sent me some information that I thought I was blown away at how it just tied together everything that I've been covering, and it even tied together the stuff from, Aurora and Flying Rainbow Lasagna, even the stuff from Octellus that I didn't really understand, and even from the inception of this channel and how I got this image in my head of rising above all these man-made groups that seem to separate people and grabbing little pieces of truth out of each group to come to a fuller conclusion of how everything really is. And that was, before the Mandela effect. But this all ties in to the Mandela effect being a glitch in the matrix on purpose, a quantum awakening, as I've called it. And I think that once you hear this, it will resonate with some, others it won't resonate with. I already know that, but there's a small percentage that this will resonate with, and it's those people that I'm trying to reach here. And I'm going to summarize all this, and I'm going to be ultra vague with it because I think the AI algorithms that look at this stuff are way smarter than we've been told they are. And I don't want this to be curtailed or suppressed in any way because of any keywords that I use. So I'm going to be purposely vague, and then I can go into it further in the future. Plus, I will leave links in the pinned comment below, but not in the description. And then you guys can look further into this and figure out the words that I'm not going to use. You could figure out what all those words are. But I want to summarize it so that you all can understand. Basically, in end of 1997, beginning of 98, someone approached a reporter with a story. They were disclosing information that they weren't supposed to be disclosing, but it came from a higher source. It looks like those who did the Mandela effect are actually us, our future selves. And it sounds bizarre, I know, but it looks like we did it as a wake-up call to ourselves. And I think this is, although this might have some disturbing information in it, I think it's a message of hope because we were able to make it through, and we were able to do this for ourselves from the future. So keep that in mind throughout this process. But this person disclosed this information throughout 5 interviews with this reporter. The first 4 was basically disclosing the information of, the organization this person was a part of and how they were involved with trying to manipulate time. But the main part of their contact with these future beings was that they came across what they called a time capsule. It had 24 chambers, and each chamber had artwork in it. And in the 23rd or 24th chamber, they found a disc, and it took them a while to decode the disc to figure out what was on it. But on the disc had information like poems for each of the chambers, and it had music for all of the chambers that they had to use MIDI, and it even had sample files, and they compiled it to create the music. Very interesting stuff. The artwork itself, like I said, there was a piece of art in each of the chambers. The artwork, along with the music, was supposed to disclose information about what's really going on with our reality and what's happening, and to reveal a truth to us. But the main gist of it is that our reality, our universe as we know it, is a programmed universe. It's not infinite. And what our science has determined is that it's a hologram universe, and that's actually true. There's an edge to it. There's what appears to be the edge of where we can look at, and our science feels like it's the edge because it's as far as we can see in time. but that's not actually the truth. That's actually the edge of the programmed universe. And because of that, everything within this universe is programmed. Our thoughts are programmed. And I think a clue to this would be whenever I would come across a Mandela effect, the new one would have a familiarity to it. The new version, I would remember how it used to be, but the new one would, not always, but a lot of times, it would like, man, that looks familiar. I must have seen it already and didn't realize it or something. But it's not that. It's just that things are programmed, and there's a certain group of us that recognize this crack in our reality, our reality wall, the crack in the wall of our reality. So that's the 24 pieces of art right there. As you see, very colorful artwork. They had to restore a lot of it. The music that you hear is also the music that was compiled from the disc. A few hours worth of music that you can listen to. The reason it was done that way is because this is a programmed reality. It has, you might want to think of it like a virus protection, where it looks for certain things can set it off. And because of that, by adding it to music and to art and poems, it was a way of encrypting the information so it could get to us. So back to the interviews. There's 4 interviews. They were all released in 98, and except for the 5th interview. The 5th interview, if you listen to it, the person that was telling the reporter all of this stuff said that they would let them know in the future when to release it. Well, that information was released in April of 2014, and he let her know that things had to happen before they could release that 5th interview because science needed to catch up, and science has caught up. We see that science now sees the universe as a hologram. Certain scientists have discovered at the fundamental level of reality what they find is computer codes, bits of data.
Are you saying we are all just, there's some entity that programmed the universe and we're just expressions of their code?
Well, I didn't say that. Some of those
like the Matrix? That's what you said.
Some of those codes are showing on the screen behind you right now. They don't look like codes, but these pictures, which we call adinkras, are graphical representations of sets of equations that are based on codes. So this is, in fact, to answer your question more directly, I have in my life come to a very strange place because I never expected that the movie The Matrix might be an accurate representation of the place in which I live.
Because according to USA Today, scientists from UK's University of Southampton are saying that they have found new evidence that our entire universe could just be a vast and complex hologram.
Really, it sounds like everyone's believing the lie, everyone's deceived, and we wanted to send information back to us from the future to help us escape this prison we're in, basically. Because these are indeed meat suits that we're in. Designed to have our senses, and we're connected. But like a fish in water, like Jesus said in the one parable of the fishes, there's water. The fish don't realize they're in water. The water is God, but how can they know about God? Because they've always experienced water. They've never experienced life without water, and it's in water that they live and breathe and have their being. So for them, water's always been there. They can't even see water because it's so much a part of their life. So I think this is a good analogy for what we're dealing with here, in that we don't see this programmed reality because this is all we know. We have no reference point. And even the afterlife, what we consider the afterlife, that's still within this reality bubble. So we're basically, and the information is all out there, and I will go into it more in depth in the future. But I wanted to get this out because I wanted this information to spread, because I believe that the sole purpose of us learning to love, coming together in unity, is the only way we can sort of push down this artificial wall, this artificial reality, to expose the real reality out there. And I believe this Mandela effect is that crack in the wall that they talk about. They don't specifically mention the Mandela effect, but they talk about a time when there would be a crack in our reality, and people would peer through this crack in the wall of our reality and understand that this reality is not what we think of. And I feel like it's explaining the Mandela effect. For a lot of us, we woke up to the fact that this reality is not at all what we thought it was. And I think if you consider how this is a programmed reality, it makes it much easier to understand how things have been manipulated with ease. Things have changed for just some people and not others. And that's because it's all programmed. It's not like there's a timeline in the past that had to go back. They only had to change the past in the present time. This gets into this vision I had not too long ago when I saw everything as this consciousness bubble, and how even the past was our present view of it and our proofs and things we have in the present time of the past. It's not like if someone was to travel back in time that they have to go back on a timeline. They merely have to go into our perception of the past in the present time and change our perception at the present time of the past. They don't have to actually go to the past like we think of it. So things are not as they seem at all. In fact, they're much more like you would think of the game The Sims. If a programmer was to sort of pause the game, make some changes or whatever, he wouldn't have to go back and play all of that over again. He could just make it look like that's how it's always been. And with people that see the Mandela effect, that's exactly how it looks. It looks like it's just always been that way. This gets into how the information about who we really are has been suppressed. The I am, the we are. And there's some exercises that we can do as a collective to sort of bridge the gap between us, because literally everything of this program reality has been programmed for separation, whether it's race, culture, religion, politics, worldviews, and even some of the new theories coming out that's just all separating people and driving a wedge between us and our beliefs about just the nature of reality itself. And really the only way for us to come together to push this wall over, artificial wall of this programmed reality, we have to rise above these ideas that support separation. And I think without even getting into pointing out any specific worldviews and saying that's wrong, consider if the worldview that you currently subscribe to is one of separation or one of unity. Is it one of us and them, or is it one of everybody? Does it encompass everybody? And that's a key to seeing the separation that's programmed within a worldview. And I really can't think of any other than rising above all of them and saying, hey, let's rise above these programs of separation. Whether it's, turning off the TV, not seeing yourself as elite or special or superior to someone else. Any group that promotes this sort of thinking is part of the program. I know I'm going to lose a lot of people with that because all religions are based around this idea of separation, us and them. But really it's I am, we are. And that's what we're trying to get back to with this whole thing. So with that, I'm going to cut this program short. And I know it was really vague, but I wanted to just kind of get the idea out there, put the links in the pinned comment below so you guys can look more into this. And I will have future videos that also touch on this whole idea and the information I found within this. But please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell, because I'm not going to be able to title things in an obvious way. You're just going to have to be subscribed and click the bell. But I think most of the people, there's probably only a couple of dozen people, many have been with me since the beginning. This is going to resonate with you as it did with me. It really does tie together everything that I feel like I've gotten through intuition and synchronicities and things like that. So hang in there. This is a message of hope, and there is a dark side of it, but there is a ray of light that we need to cling to and realize that we can do something about this. We're not powerless. It's all about love and compassion and humility. And I'll get into all of the heart virtues that they talk about in this information, because it still gets back to the whole thing with unity and love. And with that, I resonated with greatly. And I understand that it all comes back to love and not being separated, as many of the world beliefs would like us to think it's us and them, but it's really us. I am, we are, we all are. So I appreciate you watching. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.